not summer school. It's summer school. Yeah, I got
What?
it. Right.
What summer
Kind
school?
of summer school.
Just the line like,
I
where
got
are my
it.
keys?
I got it.
Somewhere.
Right. That's those two guys. They're like, where are my keys?
Francis.
Francis. Chainsaw. It's a good movie. I mean, it's not a good movie, but it's a good
It
movie.
really isn't a good movie. It's a good summer movie.
It's a good summer movie. The best part is the guy who takes the pass
Yeah, and never
and
comes
goes to the
back.
bathroom and then aces the test. He's that big guy.
Yeah.
It's a good part. I would write Choke Beach.
You guys are in Michigan, I think.
Yeah.
We got the trip with you. Well,
Yes.
we signed their release field.
Yeah, we signed the release form.
Field trip.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm interested.
I'm just gonna turn this so I got a nice love letter from Sherry Colbert last week. She never popped up. She was going to. She never popped up. I let everybody in. She's like, I saw you on the thing. How you doing? I'm like looking at it. You just pop me in. Like, listen, I mean, I let everybody in. You didn't pop up for whatever reason. I'm sorry. So see you next week. Next time, come in person.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, Amazon. Yeah.
They're very deceptive. You should use this site. And they're beautiful and they're cheap. You have a better one. It's a better one.
I think I told you this before. Like I started like
I'm glad you caught it.
I was doing a wedding, and I told them like, oh, we'll just buy our own house. I didn't think about it, and I get under the chuppah and I'm like just setting everything up. I'm just like, so I just went over to them and was like, look, this is not a problem. We'll use my tallis, right? I'll just take it off me. But we can't use this tallis. I'm like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Like, well, you see this part right here? This is Jew. I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, so just return it. No big deal. Return it.
Right.
Yeah. We're 9 most of the well, 10. Good. Phew. 11. We could send somebody home. I can start with Matzah if you want. He's like 15. מודה אני לפניך, מלך חי וקיים, שחזרת בי נשמתי בחמלה, בחמלה רבה אמונתך. מודה אני לפניך, מלך חי וקיים, שחזרת בי נשמתי בחמלה, בחמלה רבה אמונתך, רבה אמונתך.
Hi everyone, Shabbat Shalom. Nice that you all are here, made it through our kind of warm-ish weather. It's got so hot this morning already, like it was 90 and it was gross. It's gross. And was that, did you say dishwasher? It's like a dishwasher? Oh, it's like a dishwasher. It's like, oh, that's nice. Yeah, that's good. It'd be nice if we were a dishwasher because you get all the soap all too, and then you're like, it's nice. And then you get dried off. It'd be nice if because of a dishwasher. I don't know. It's kind of nice. We were a little bit nervous because a few minutes ago, that we had no minyan, and then in like a flash, poof, everyone showed up. It was awesome. So thank you for filling up the space. Now we have 300 people in here. I want to make the people on live stream really, really, really jealous. 300 people in the chapel. So we're really squishy. It's really warm, but I like it in here just like this, elbow to elbow. It's really, really close. We're nice and snug. I hope you had a nice start to Shabbat, and you had a nice evening, and we are excited about our service and our Torah discussion, and can't continue our service until we mention how specific our service is going to begin now. So if you go to page 172, where we usually start, you'll see there's great significance to this opening prayer, which is Matovu, because it comes from this week's Torah portion. So it does. It is in the Torah, and we are in the Torah portion of Balak, and it is in this week's Torah portion, and we will be discussing it, I promise. So, but special attention. So even though we have usual great intentionality with Matovu, usually every Shabbat morning, particularly this morning as we continue, let's focus especially on Matovu on page 172.
Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. V'ani merov chastecha avo veitecha eshtachave lechal kodshecha be'yiratecha. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Adonai ahavti me'on beitecha umekom mishkan kevodecha v'ani eshtachave ve'echra'a evrecha lifnei Adonai osi מה טובו אוהליך יעקב, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. טובו אוהליך יעקב, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. ואני תפילתי לך, אדוני את רצון. אלוהים ברוב חסדך, ענני באמת אישך. מה טובו אוהליך יעקב, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טובו אוהליך יעקב, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל.
We continue with Nisim B'chol Yom, our daily blessings and miracles, 175.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לשכל ובינה להבחין בין יום ובין לילה.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם פוקח עיוורים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם מתיר אסורים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם זוקף כפופים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם רוקה הארץ על המים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המכין מצעדי גבר.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם מלביש ארומים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם הנותן לעייף כוח.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המעביר שינה מעיני ותנומה מיף אפיים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בצלם אלוהים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בן חורים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני ישראל.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם הזה ישרה בגבורה.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוטר ישראל בתפארה.
אמן.
Psukei de Zimra, our daily section of Psalms 183.
ברוך שאמר והיה עולם.
ברוך הוא.
ברוך עושה בראשית.
ברוך אומר ועושה.
ברוך גוזר ומקיים.
ברוך מרחם על הארץ.
ברוך מרחם על הבריות.
ברוך משלם שכר טוב לרעיו.
ברוך חי לעד וקיים לנצח.
ברוך פודה ומציל, ברוך שמו.
Blessed is the one who spoke and the world came to be.
Blessed is the one.
Blessed is the one who continually authors creation.
Blessed is one whose word is deed.
Blessed is the one who decrees and fulfills.
Blessed is the one who's compassionate towards the world.
Blessed is the one who's compassionate towards all creatures.
Blessed is the one who words are reverent.
Blessed is the one who exists for all time, ever enduring.
Baruch atah Adonai, melech me'ulal v'tishbachot. We continue with Shochenad on page 192.
שוכנן מהרום וקדוש שמו וכתוב רננו צדיקים באדוני הישרים נא בתהילה בפי ישרים תתהלל ובדברי צדיקים תתברך ובלשון חסידים תתרומם ובקרב קדושים תתקדש ובמקלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל ורינה יתפאר שמך מלכנו בכל דור ודור ישתבח
שמך לעד מלכנו
האל המלך הגדול והקדוש בשמיים ובארץ ברוך אתה אדוני אל מלך גדול בתשבחות אל ההודעות אדון הנפלאות הבוחר בשירי זמרה מלך מלכי העולמים
Chatzi Kaddish, 194.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
אמן.
ועולמה דברך ירצה וימליך מלכותי, וחייכון
ויומכון וחיי דכל בית ישראל.
בגדלה, בגדלה,
ובזמן קריב.
ואמרו,
אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם לא מעולמיה יתברך.
יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר
ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי לקודשה ברכו לעילה.
מן כל ברכתה ושג'ירתה,
תושבחתה בנחמתה דמירן לעלמה, ואמרו Amen. We continue with our call to worship with Baruch Hu 195. Together we stand.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer rov v'choshech, oseh shalom uvoreh et hakol. Please be seated. We continue with Ahava Rabbah 198.
Ahava Rabbah Haftanu Adonai Eloheinu Chemla Gedola Vitera Chamalta Aleinu Ba'avur Avoteinu Ve'imotenu Shebatchu Vecha
ותמדן חוקי חיים, הער עינינו בתורתך, ותדבק ליבנו במצוותיך,
ויחל
לבבינו לאהבה וליראה את שמך,
ולא
נבוש ולא ניכלם,
ולא ניכשל
לעולם ועד, כי בשם קודשך
הגדול והנורא בטחנו,
נגילה ונשמחה, נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך.
ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל
Ahava, page 200.
שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
We continue Ve'ahavta 201.
ואהבת
את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה
אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך,
ושיננתם לבניך
ודיברת בם, ושבתך בביתך
ובלכתך בדרך
ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
202.
ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל, ואמרת עליהם, ועשו להם ציצית, על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם ונתנו, על ציצית הכנף בציל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית, וריתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם,
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. Our song of redemption, מי כמוך, 204.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש. נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים, לשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. צור ישראל קומה בעזרת ישראל, ופתחנו ממך יהודה וישראל, גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
We begin the Amidah, 205.
אדוני שפתי תפתח ופיה כי תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל העליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים. תומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
Continue with the Kedusha 208.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ כבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו אבינו מלכנו, ומושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ורחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון, לדור ודור.
Hallelujah.
לדור ודור.
לדור ודור.
לדור ודור.
לדור ודור.
לדור ודור נגיד גון לך. לדור ודור.
לדור ודור.
לדור ודור.
לדור ודור.
לדור ודור נגיד גון לך. ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש. בשבחך אלוהינו, מפינו לא ימוש, לא ימוש, לעולם ועד. לדור ודור,
לדור ודור.
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור.
לדור ודור נגיד גון לך. לדור ודור,
לדור ודור.
לדור ודור. לדור ודור נגיד גוד לך. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We take time now for our own silent prayers, thoughts, meditations, beginning here on page 210 through page 219. When you're finished, please be seated.
שים שלום טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך. שים שלום טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך. ברכנו יוצרנו כולנו כאחד באור פניך, כי באור פניך נתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו תורת חיים ואהבת חסד וצדקה וברכה ורחמים וחיים ושלום. שים שלום טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך. שים שלום טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שים שלום טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך. שים שלום טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך.
We continue now with Serekret HaTorah, the service reading the Torah on this Shabbat morning, on page 244.
Ein kamocha va'elohim Adonai, vein kema'asecha, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, u'memshaltecha bechol dor v'hador. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai oz le'amo hitain. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Am harachamim heitiv hamitzoncha et Zion. Timneh chomot Yerushalayim, ki bechol levad batachnu, melech el ram v'nisa, Adon olamim.
146.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, ki mitzion tetzei Torah,
Udvar Adonai Mirushalayim Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Le'amo Yisrael B'Kedushato Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo Gadlul Adonai iti Neromema Shemo Yachdav Lecha Adonai HaGedula VeHaGevura VeHaTiferet VeHaNetzach VeHaHod Ki chol b'shamayim u'va'aretz, Ki chol b'shamayim u'va'aretz, Lecha Adonai hamamlacha, ve'amitnaseh lechol rosh. Romemu, Romemu, Adonai Eloheinu, Vehishtachavu, Vehishtachavu, Ladom Raglav Kadoshu, Romemu, Romemu, Adonai Eloheinu, Vehishtachavu, Vehishtachavu, Lehar Kodsho, Ki Kadosh, Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Please be seated.
Okay, we are in the Torah portion of Balak. But we're not starting from, Kener Mashik is going to be chanting not from the beginning. So, just to give you the coordinates so you know what we're doing, it's the Torah portion of Balak in the book of Numbers. The Torah portion itself begins on 22:2. So you can start the head there if you want to. 22:2 is where we're going. 22:2 is the beginning of the Torah portion. So it's the book of Numbers, chapter 22, verse 2. Harry's not even here to yell out page numbers, so this is awesome. I am going to. I don't have the book, but we're not going to be chanting from there. So if you want to just have the place ready for later for study, that's where we're starting. The cantor will not be chanting from there. So if you want to be where the cantor is chanting from, it's going to be even more fun for you because it's 24, just chapter 24. Yes. So we want to change it up a little bit today. So the cantor's not chanting from the beginning. He's chanting from a little bit later into the Torah portion. It's chapter 24. So, messing with you today. 24, chapter 24. Book of Numbers, chapter 24. Chapter 24. Anyone want to do the Aliyah for us this morning? Anyone feeling like the Aliyah is calling you? Aliyah-ish? Anyone feeling Aliyah-ish? It's hard to say, Aliyah-ish. Anyone? Well, we can do it. But up here, if you want us to, or do you want to do it? All of us do a collective. We could do it. Ron, you want to do it? Let's do a collective. Well, that means you have to stand up, though. I'm sorry. So if you want to do a collective, then whoever wants to participate can stand up. You don't have to participate, but all right, this is fun. We'll do a collective. I like it. It's 250 if you want to follow along on the page. So Ya'amdu kol ha'keila la Torah. 1, 2, 3, Go. Baruch hu et Adonai Hamborach. Baruch Adonai Hamborach leolam va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hamborach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. Vayar bilam kitov.
בעיני אדוני לברך את ישראל, ולא הלך כפעם בפעם נקראת נחשים, וישת אל המדבר פניו, ויסב אליו את עיניו, וירא את ישראל שוכן לשבטיו, ותהי עליו רוח אלוהים, וישא משלו, ויאמר נאום בלעם בנו ואור, ונאום הגבר שתום העין. נאום שומע אמריאל, אשר מחזה שדי יחזה, נופל וגלום עיניים. מה טובו אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל.
1, 2, 3. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו, ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה. Oh, yes, we can do, well, let's raise and dress, and then we'll do Mishabirach. Okay, who wants to raise, anyone want to raise and dress? Anyone want to feel like do Hagbag, Lila? Yes, some of you, all of you, several of you, you're welcome to come up. Everyone can take, we could do a whole congregational, just let's not do that, I'm just kidding. All right, so I'd say please stand, but you're already standing. But if you're not standing, please stand. And we're going to raise and dress the Torah. So we're on page 252. All right, we're ready.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. תורה, תורה, תורה,
תורה, תורה, תורה, תורה, ציווה לנו משה. תורה, 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 ציווה לנו משה. Torah, 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 ציווה לנו משה. Torah, 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 ציווה לנו משה. מורשה קהילת יעקב, מורשה קהילת יעקב, מורשה קהילת יעקב. Torah ציווה לנו משה. Torah, 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 ציווה לנו משה. Torah, 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 ציווה לנו משה. Please be seated. I don't think so. Yeah, probably not. It's probably not the first occurrence. That's my guess is it's not. That's very easily Googleable, which I can do after. Yeah. I don't think it's the first occurrence. No. Oh yeah. Yeah. So it's not the first occurrence. Yeah, but it is one of the 72 names of God, which is also by the way you bring up El Shaddai, and Shaddai is the shin on the mezuzah. So that's the name of God. That's why there's a shin on every mezuzah. No, that's why it's a Shaddai, which is an acronym. Shaddai, Shomer Dlatot Israel, the protector of our gates, essentially. Shomer Dlatot Israel. That's the name of God. So the shin on the mezuzah, which stands for Shaddai, and one of the names of God, and Shaddai is an acronym, Shin Daled Yud, Shomer Delatot Yisrael, the keeper of Israel's gates, if you will. Yes, which is why you put it on the doorpost, and that protects the gate, if you will. So yes, but that's where it comes from. That's why it's the Shin. We could use a million names of God. That's just a choice. That's the particular choice for the Shin on the mezuzah. Okay, let's do our blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. All right, let's turn back to the beginning of the Torah portion. So that's 22:2. 22:2. Just to start there, and then we'll bounce around a little bit. So 22:2. 22:2. 22:2. So if you recall how we're doing in the last weeks in the Torah, it's been rough. It's been a rough section of Torah, starting with Shlach Lecha, which was sort of mid-June-ish, if you will. It's the spies that are sent out, and that if you recall, 12 spies are sent out, 10 of them come back with negative comments about the land, 2 come back with positive comments. Those 2 are Joshua and Caleb. So there, and that's also when the punishment comes from God to say, because you could not, the rest of you could not see forward into the future and feel and trust me, that's when the 40 years of wandering is set up. So the Israelites are in a super bad mood after Shlach Lecha. Then, if you recall, after Shlach Lecha is the Torah portion of Korach, and Korach is Moses' cousin, let's say, for the purpose, from the same tribe at least, and he causes a rebellion with a band of men against Moses and Aaron and Miriam. And so, if you recall, that does not end so well. It's a very complicated situation for Moses. The Israelites are frustrated because they found out they're going to be wandering. Then you get to last week's Torah portion called Chukat, and Chukat is where they all show up in the same probably area as they do 2 books earlier at a spot where there's no water, the Israelites, and they're like, oh, we're mining, there's no water, blah, blah, blah. And Moses goes to God and says, they want water. And God's like, I know, they're whining. He gives them water. Go and talk to the rock. Instead of talking to the rock, Moses hits the rock twice, maybe in frustration for all of the last occurrences that's been going on, particularly the finding out he's not going in the land. His brother and his sister both die in the previous Torah portion. Who knows why, but he hits the rock twice. Also not good for the Israelites. So that was last week's Torah portion. And then we show up here. So I just want to set the stage for us because it's not so great here either. So I just wanted to mention it's not so good. And both the Cantor and myself were talking before that this is kind of an odd Torah portion. It doesn't fall in the flow of how things have been going. It's a little bit out there. It kind of stuck in the middle. It's a little bit out there. The ending, however, of this Torah portion is atrocious and adds to the trouble of the last few weeks. But up until the trouble, which is all the way at the end of the Torah portion, it's just odd, which we talked about a little bit last night, is that we'll see soon that this Torah portion has a talking donkey in it, which is odd, and it has a lot of sorcery attempts, and it's kind of out of place. And so just want to set the stage for, it's an interesting Torah portion. It's a little out there, but it's possible that they were smoking something. It's very possible, and the rabbis also enjoyed that. So it's very possible that they were smoking something. Really, if you think of a look at all of Zohar and Kabbalah, you think you're sure the rabbis were doing some kind of something. There was something up there in Tzfat. So if you ever go to Tzfat, it's very mystical, and I don't know. Okay, so all that being said, here we go, 22:2. Now we're going to go into Balak.
Balak is
What's that? Is it on? Yeah.
Balak, son of Zippor, saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites. Moab was alarmed because that people was so numerous. Moab dreaded the Israelites, and Moab said to the elders of Midian, "Now this horde will lick clean all that is about us, as ox licks up the grass of the field."
Okay, so what do we have here? Let's examine just this opening. What do we know so far from just a couple of verses? Okay, great. So the oxen. So we know that oxen. There are oxen and they eat. Good, great. What else do we know about? What else do we know about the characters, the situation, the Israelites? Put on your Torah detective hats and tell me, what do we know so far? Because we find out a bunch of stuff right off the bat. So what do we know? Yes. Okay, who has an army? Yeah. So how many Israelites are there? Ish. Numerous. But how many are there approximately? Do you remember? About 1.2 million probably are people wandering in the desert, because there are the most accurate number we've received so far is 502,000. Yes, about 502,500 men. So double it ish, and then you get to around a million something. So it's a lot of people. So all right, so and they're really from like the age of 30 and under, you're in the military. So there's a lot of people. So there's an army. So we know there's some kind of an army. What else do we know from the Torah portion? They were hated. Who doesn't like them? Yeah, the Moabites don't. The neighbors don't like them. Why don't they like them? Why don't they like them? Well, because they're Jews, but that's later on. But why don't they like them? Well, yes, it begins here and still continues. We're a fan of no one's, but yes. Why? What else? What's that? Right. So the Israelites went up against another nation, beat them up, and now Moab is nervous because he feels like he's going to confront them at some point in the desert, and he's afraid of them. So he's not happy. Who's in charge, by the way, of the Moabites? What's his name? Balak. Balak, which is the name of the Torah portion. So the name of the Torah portion is called Balak, and it says Balak, son of Zippor, saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites. He was like, uh-oh, the Amorites got beat up. I don't like this. And so Moab was alarmed because that people was so numerous. Moab dreaded the Israelites, and Moab said that the elders of the Midian, now they're coming for us, essentially. So they have to prepare themselves. So Balak decides to prepare himself because he's nervous. Okay? You guys seem really into this morning. I don't know. We don't like Balak? It's a weird Torah portion. Maybe we should have all had a beverage this morning, and it would have helped us all. I don't know. Maybe we would have had a little wine or something. And just would you like some wine? You don't want any wine? It's too early. Not in Israel. So, I know. All right. So, all right. No, I drowned it out. So, all right. So we're still in verse 4. Let's read a little bit. We're on verse. So it's like 4b where it says Balak son of Zippor.
Balak, son of Zippor, who was king of Moab at that time, sent messengers to Balaam, son of Beor in Petor, which is by the Euphrates, in the land of his kinsfolk, to invite him, saying, "There is a people that came out of Egypt. It hides the earth from view, and it is settled next to me. Come then, put a curse upon the people for me, this people for me, since they are too numerous for me. Perhaps I can thus defeat them and drive them out of the land. For I know that he whom you bless is blessed indeed, and he whom you curse is cursed.
Okay. What's happening here?
Sounds like what Pharaoh said at one time. There's too many people.
Yeah. So yeah, it's similar that there are too many Israelites, so they're fearing the number of the Israelites. Yes. Okay. Great. Okay. So Balak is not sure that militarily they can win, so he's hoping for some kind of divine intervention. So now we're going to add a second name to the story. So Balak is this king of the nation, and he wants to hire this guy named, what's this guy's name? Yeah, you can call him Bilam or Balaam. It doesn't matter. So yes, so Balak, who was the king of the Moabites at the time, sent for Bilam, son of Beor, and said to them, there's this people here, there's a lot of them, and I'm nervous about them. And what does he say, though, at the end? What does he say at the end of 6? At the end of verse 6, what does he say? For I know that he whom you bless is blessed indeed. So what is he saying about Bilam? You're good. He's a prophet. So I hear about you, Bilam. I hear you're great. So if you give a curse, people are cursed. If you give a blessing, people are blessed. Your reputation precedes you, and so I'm interested in your service. Let's review. Why is Balak interested in Balaam's service?
He wants to eliminate the Israelites.
Exactly. And he thinks that if Balaam comes and curses the Israelites first, the likelihood is higher that he can defeat them. We got it? I'm going to withhold oneg if you're not going to respond. I'm going to withhold oneg. Okay, people. I'm going to say, I woke you up now. People are like, okay, no, oneg. We're not messing oneg. I got to have the bagel and then the tuna. So, all right, yes, good. Okay, the room is a little woken up. Yes, he's frightened. He's terrified. He's terrified. Can I have that water, please? Yes, exactly. So he's nervous. He's not sure he can handle it himself, and so he wants Bilam to come and help the situation.
It's interesting how he says it hides the earth, meaning there were so many of them.
So many of them. Yes, there were so many Israelites that you couldn't see the earth, meaning there were so many people there. Okay, so all right, we're on 7. Oh wait, yes, comment, yes.
I just want to go back to 4A. His other concern was that he didn't want to share the land before the huts with the people.
Yeah. He wants this. He was a king. He wants this whole thing for himself. Absolutely. As a side note, by the way, what's really fascinating about the beginning of the Torah portion, just in general? What's interesting about the beginning of the Torah portion? Really like the first words. What's interesting about it?
It's out of the blue.
It's out of the blue. Good. What else? What's interesting about the opening, the whole opening of the Torah portion? Is it like most openings of Torah portions?
Oh, right. No, Vayomer Adonai.
Yeah, there's no Vayomer Adonai Moshe. There's no conversation from God and Moses. There's certainly no Aaron and Miriam because they unfortunately have died in last week's Torah portion. So it's just Moses. But Moses isn't even in this conversation. The writers, it's possible if you want to go with the writers' version of it, yeah. But it's just odd. Who's actually talking? Who actually gets to open the Torah portion?
Who's telling the story?
Yeah, Shrek. Yeah, essentially. It's perfect. Exactly. Yeah. Donkey. Where are you, donkey? Yeah. Yeah, so we get introduced to all these other nations. It kind of comes out of nowhere. Balak is the narrator, essentially. This is completely out of the blue. Everything's sort of weird and mystical and odd here. So it's a weird situation. Yes?
And he also gives a chapter
Yeah, and he gets a treasure named after him, and he's clearly not a Jew. He's not an Israelite. He's not any of that stuff. And so it's interesting that the whole Torah portion is called Balak. And the irony, by the way, is that we're going to barely even hear about the story of Balak. We're going to actually mostly hear about Bilam, because the story is about Bilam. Balak's just in the background screaming at him. But the story is really about Bilam, which is also not an Israelite. So fascinating. But Bilam's going to be an interesting character in a few minutes. So just to say the opening. Yes? You're thinking something. Yeah. Yeah. You're in some good rare form this morning. I like it. I like it, Bob. I like it. It's good. Yes. Yeah, you get oneg, so it's done. So Bob, you're in. So far, the only person in the room is getting a bagel. Bob, you get all the bagels, Bob. Yes. Marcia, you're about to get a bagel. Yes. He seems to be a coward. Yeah, he's cheating. Exactly. He seems to be a coward. He's cheating. He's finding a way around it. He thinks he just can't beat the Israelites head on. So he thinks that the only way to do it is to curse them, because then they'll be lessened, and if they're lessened, then it'll be easier to defeat them. So yeah, there's a cowardice to them. Yes. Ooh, now you're thinking of the egg salad or the tuna or the freshly cut, the crisp tomato. I'm just giving you all this good incentive now. The chilled tomato to put on there. It's good. Great.
Based on my assumptions, I think he's made assumptions based on what he's seen happen and rumors from the other people around.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. One more thing to throw in here, just to get us thinking and going, is that do we like the Moabites? No, we don't like the Moabites. Why don't we like the Moabites? Because they're going up against us. But don't hate the Moabites too badly, because Ruth was a Moabite. So let's throw this into the mix for us as we look at this Torah portion. And why is Ruth significant? Yeah, she's the descendant of King David. So, and we need him. So yes. So there's certainly a weird thread throughout this whole Torah portion, because as much as we're frustrated with the Moabites, and I promise you, you're going to get more frustrated with the Moabites by the end of this, in our third hour, is that we can't hate them that badly, because Ruth comes out of this. Baby Ruth comes out of this. So, no, thank you very much. I was quoting a movie. Did you get that movie reference? No? It was the Goonies. No. Well, you're gonna get the Goonies reference. I'm trying to liven up the room a little bit, because I feel like Balak's been heavy on us. Okay, we're on 7.
The elders of Moab and the elders of Midian, versed in divination, set out. They came to Balaam and gave him Balak's message. He said to them, "Spend the night here, and I shall reply to you as the Eternal may instruct me." So the Moabite dignitaries stayed with Balaam.
Okay, so
What?
I'm telling you, it's a weird Torah portion. So I'm telling you, it's a weird Torah portion. It's really interesting. All right, so the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian. So now we have both of them, right? Now we have the Midianites are in here, and the Moabites are together, because they're both really frustrated, right? And so they're there together, and the elders of Midian, who are versed in divination, so they know a thing or two about divination, about sorcery, if you will, right? Set out. They came to Balaam and said, and gave him this Balak's message, and he said to them, what's the message? Stay here, and I shall reply to you as the Lord may instruct me. So who's speaking? Who's speaking to who? And who's talking about what? So Balaam is talking, and who's Balaam mentioning? God. God. So he's kind of a prophet. He's kind of a prophet. So he's this very weird situation. Because now we have all these people in here. We have the Moabites. We have the Midianites. And now we have Balak instructing Bilam. And now Bilam is talking about God. We don't know what God he's talking about. It doesn't have to be the God of Israel, but in the text it says, Daber Adonai, and it says Yod He Vav He.
Adonai is just the name of God.
Right, but it doesn't say Adonai. It says Yod He Vav He. So it's like God, like our God. The Hebrew word doesn't say Adonai or Elohim. It just says Yod He Vav He. So that's why it's complicated. And that's why in the text also, Lord is capitalized. Is Lord capitalized in your book in verse 8? It's in English. Lord. Is it capitalized? Is eternal capitalized? Yes, we're in this together. Everyone's getting bagels. Okay, good. All right. We're on 9.
God came to Balaam and said, "What do these envoys want of you?"
Okay. So what's this going on now? Vayavo Elohim. God came to speak to Bilam. Do we like this weirdness?
No.
But it's in here. It's in here though. Okay. And this
This could be divine intervention on the other end.
it could
What are you doing?
it could be. I'm saying I think that God steps in already on this. I think God starts to control the situation already, whether it's the relationship that God really has with Bilam or doesn't, but I think that maybe God already has stepped in to this conversation, way deep into the dialogue, not Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe at the beginning, but here. And I told you it was a weird one. Okay, so God came to Bilam and said, keep going, you're doing great.
Balaam said to God, "Balak, son of Zippor, king of Moab, send me this message. Here is a people that came out of Egypt and hides the earth from view. Come now and curse them for me. Perhaps I can engage them in battle and drive them off." But God said to Balaam, "Do not go with them. You must not curse that people, for they are blessed."
Okay, so they're having a dialogue, and what does Bilam say to God? Everything that was told to him. So he surrenders everything, maybe because he's nervous, maybe because it's really God talking to him. So, and he says, "I'm sorry, this is what I hear. This is what Balak wants. I'm nervous. I'm just giving you all the information." And so what does God say? Don't do it. Don't do it. Why can't you do it?
These people are
Ki varuch hu, because they are blessed people. Aha. Woo. All right. So, what?
Wait,
Yes?
the thing is that there aren't that many people that talk to God.
Right.
Hello?
So Bilam is hypothetically talking to God. Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe it was his introduction to the real God, because apparently Balaam he's not an Israelite.
Maybe. Or maybe Bilam is actually has some divine quality or something, or some quality where he can communicate, and maybe he appreciates the ability to speak with, quote, gods, and also maybe is open to connecting with God. Who knows? We don't know, which is why it's such an interesting Torah portion. And shoved in the middle, like I told you, it's this weird thing shoved in the middle here. So, all right, so now we're on 13.
Balaam arose in the morning and said to Balak's dignitaries, "Go back to your own country, for the Eternal will not let me go with you." The Moabite dignitaries left, and they came to Balak and said, "Balaam refused to come with us."
Okay, so now what happens? Balaam gets up in the morning, and by the way, if you know a lot about the structure of Torah, when something says like he wakes up in the morning, it's kind of a big deal. It means that it doesn't. There is two types of waking up in the mornings. There's the official, like, major ones, like the ones that Moses does before he goes to do the binding of Isaac. There are a couple of these, like, major, like, wake-ups in the morning. And there are also, but other times in the Torah where it says someone wakes up in the morning, it means that they slept, by the way, and now they have a different, like, view of things, which, by the way, I think works for a lot of us. That's why we always say, like, let's sleep on it. Because you wake up in the morning and maybe you're less frustrated or less upset or less something, right? Maybe you go to bed angry or frustrated or happy or sad or whatever, but you wake up and you're in a different space. So just leave it there. So he wakes up in the morning, he goes to the dignitaries and he says, God says I can't do it. So they go and talk to Balak, and they tell Balak, he's not doing it. So, what do you think? Balak is happy or sad? Yeah, he's upset. He's upset. So here we go, 15.
Then Balak sent other dignitaries more numerous and distinguished than the first. They came to Balaam and said to him, "Thus says Balak, son of Zippor, please do not refuse to come to me. I will reward you richly, and I will do anything you ask of me. Only come and damn these people for me." Balaam replied to Balak's officials, "Though Balak were to give me his house full of silver and gold, I could not do anything, big or little, contrary to the command of the eternal my God."
So now what?
Is he an Israelite?
He's not an Israelite.
No.
And it says where he's from. So what's going on? He says, you give me your whole house. Give me silver and gold. I'm not doing it. Why can't I do it? Who's telling me I can't do it? Not just God.
My God.
My God. So, all right, let's keep going.
So you too stay here overnight and let me find out what else the Eternal may say to me. That my God came to Balaam and said to him, "If these envoys have come to invite you, you may go with them, but whatever I command you, that you shall do."
Okay, so what's that last part? Yeah, okay, fine. All right, so now we're on 21. This is when the stuff changes a little bit. So we're all confused a little bit, and God's with Balaam, and Balaam is with God, and it's a whole thing. But here it starts on 21. Okay.
When he arose in the morning, Balaam saddled his ass and departed with the Moabite dignitaries. But God was incensed at his going. So an angel of the Eternal took a position in his way as an adversary.
Okay. So it says, so this is a very small grammatical switch that the rabbis find that changes the story. So when he rose in the morning, Balaam saddled up and departed, and it says with, right, as your English says with the Moabite dignitaries? Does it say that in your English in 22?
Yes.
Okay. So the with, though, changes in the text grammatically from all the other withs. And what the rabbis say in this spot is, when he wakes up this morning, perhaps, even though he says, even if you give me gold and silver in your house, I'm not going to do it, maybe he goes to sleep and wakes up and he thinks to himself, a little bit of gold and a little bit of silver would not be such a terrible thing. And so with now switches to with them. It's almost as if he wakes up here and Balaam has a bit of a different view. To say, like, I'm intrigued by this now suddenly. I slept on it. Lots of gold and silver sounds pretty nice, actually. Maybe. And so because of that, you can also tell, because this also, the way that he wakes up is interesting to God also. God notices it. Why does God notice it? Right, but exactly. But how do we know that God notices something different about Balaam this morning?
Was incensed.
Yes. God's incensed. And what does God do? Allows him to go, but what does God put with him?
Malach.
An angel. So now God's a little more nervous about him, because before God and Bilam were doing okay, and now maybe Bilam is intrigued with a little gold and silver. And so now God's like, all right, this is a bad idea. I told you not to go. You're going anyway, it looks like. So go with them, but I'm going to put someone around you just to make sure. So the story then unfurls here, and we don't have time to go through it, but there's a going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, where Bilam doesn't necessarily know exactly what to do or where to go or exactly how to do things. It gets a little bit confusing here, and so let's keep going, and you'll see in this one little section. We're going to do this part, and then we're going to jump. Okay, so just keep in mind now that Bilam, we don't know where he's at. Up until now, we were pretty confident with him because he was with God and he wasn't listening, and now he's a little bit confused. Okay, so God was incensed. Here we're going. Let's continue. It's like 22b. It says when he was riding the donkey. You have that?
He was riding on a she-ass with his 2 servants alongside. When the ass caught sight of the angel of the Eternal standing in the way with his drawn sword in his hand, the ass swerved from the road and went into the fields, and Balaam beat the ass to turn her back onto the road. The angel of the Eternal then stationed himself in a lane between the vineyards, with a fence on either side. The ass, seeing the angel of the Eternal, pressed herself against the wall and squeezed Balaam's foot against the wall, so he beat her again. Once more the angel of the Eternal moved forward and stationed himself on a spot so narrow that there was no room to swerve right or left. When the ass now saw the angel of the Eternal, she lay down under Balaam, and Balaam was furious and beat the ass with his stick.
Okay, so what happens now? What's happening? So Bilam is moving forward with this mission, hypothetically, and so God's upset. The angel is there. This donkey's going. Donkey, right? This is from Shrek now. And the donkey keeps seeing the angel. So Bilam is not seeing the angel, but the donkey is. So the donkey's freaking out because there's this thing in front of it. It doesn't know what to do, and it keeps swerving. And if you make sense, if you picture it like going up like a steep mountain cliff, and the donkey keeps moving over and over away from the cliff and more towards the rocks, right? And squishes herself, because it's a female donkey, squishes herself against the rocks, and it's hurting his leg. So he's like trapped there, and then he starts to hit her, the female donkey, and at this point she just like sits down and says, "All right, I'm done with you." And when she sits down, he continues to beat at the donkey. Now we're on 28.
Then the Eternal opened the ass's mouth, and she said to Balaam, "What have I done to you that you have beaten me these 3 times?" Balaam said to the ass, "You have made a mockery of me. If I had a sword with me, I'd kill you." The ass said to Balaam, "Look, I am the ass that you have been riding all along until this day. Have I been in a habit of doing thus to you?" And he answered, "No."
Okay. So he's having a conversation with the donkey. I just want to remind you all that he's having a conversation with the donkey, and it's not great. Okay, so she doesn't like freak out, which is also interesting. But he's having a conversation with the donkey, and what is the donkey? The donkey teaches him a lesson. What's the lesson the donkey teaches? You know me, like I'm your donkey, so I don't usually behave like this. So something's going on. Something's going on, right? This is right. Who thinks this is an odd story, by the way? Anyone think it's an odd story? Yes, great. Okay, good. Okay, what's that? Heat stroke, exactly. It's good. Okay, and so writing, and he answered no, and then we're on 31.
Then the Eternal uncovered Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel of the Eternal standing in the way, his drawn sword in his hand. Thereupon he bowed right down to the ground. The angel of the Eternal said to him, "Why have you beaten your ass these 3 times? It is I who came out of an adversary, for the errand is obnoxious to me. And when he saw the ass, and when the ass saw me, she shied away because of me those 3 times. If she had not shied away from me, you are the one I should have killed while sparing her.
Okay, so this whole dialogue, and his eyes are open, and he sort of realizes what's going on a little bit. By the way, we're an adult group. I will tell you, when I share this part with kids, I change all of these words to donkey. So it's not good with the kids to have the real explanation of what it is. Yeah, she-ass does not work well with children. So that's why I like to say donkey. All right, so then it says on 34, but Balaam said to the angel of the Lord, I erred because I did not know that you were standing in my way. If you still disapprove, I will turn back. But the angel of God said to Balaam, go with the men, but you must say nothing except what I tell you. So Balaam went with the dignitaries. And so Balak heard about this stuff, and he gets upset even more. So he's even more and more frustrated. It's building up and up and up. And for our sake of time, I will just share with you. We're going to jump just a little bit to, let's go to chapter 23, for the sake of time, to get our story done. Chapter 23. You shouldn't be that far. It's just like maybe right there, chapter 23.
Do you want me to read that? Why don't we read 3?
Chapter 23.
No,
Yeah. Chapter 23. You're there to chapter 23?
Yeah.
It's like one page over. Okay. So if you don't mind, just start from there.
Verse 1?
Yeah.
Balaam said to Balak, build me 7 altars here, and have 7 bulls and 7 rams ready here for me. Balak did as Balaam directed, and Balak and Balaam offered up a bull and a ram on each altar. Then Balaam said to Balak, stay here beside your offerings while I am gone. Perhaps the Eternal will grant me a manifestation, and whatever is revealed to me I will tell you. And he went off alone. God became manifest to Balaam, who stated, I have set up the 7 altars and offered up a bull and a ram on each altar. And the Eternal put the word in Balaam's mouth and said, return to Balak and speak this. So he returned to him and found him standing beside his offerings and all the Moabite dignitaries with him. He took up his theme and said...
Okay, so there's this whole conversation about Balak surrendering and saying, okay, Balaam, surrendering and saying to Balak, fine, you build me these altars, I'll do the altars, and I'll go do this thing. I'm ready, I'm fine. So with the part that we skipped, there's more back and forth and back and forth. I saved this that part. And so finally Balaam gives in, but then after he gives in, God manifests God's self and says, you're not doing this. Stop. And so he returns to Balak, and this is what he says. Go ahead.
What verse do you want?
We're on 6, yeah.
6. So he returned to him and found him standing beside his offerings and all the Moabite dignitaries with him. He took up his theme and said, from Aram has Balak brought me, Moab's king, from the hills of the east. Come curse me, Jacob. Come tell Israel doom. How can I damn whom God has not damned? How doom when the Eternal has not doomed? As I see them from the mountaintops, gaze on them from the heights. There is a people that dwells apart, not reckoned among the nations. Who can count the dust of Jacob, number the dust cloud of Israel? May I die the death of the upright. May my fate be like theirs.
Okay, so when he goes to find with the dignitaries, what does he say? What does he say about the Israelites? How can I go up against God? I absolutely can't. I went and saw these people, and how can I doom people who aren't doomed? When I gaze at them from the mountaintops, they dwell apart. This is what I talked about a little bit last night. That the Israelites have separated themselves, and they're beautiful that way. There's a beauty to the fact that they're special and different. And so who can count the dust of Jacob? The number of dust cloud of Israel? Who can do any of these things? And so he's so overwhelmed. And I think at this point, Balak starts to realize that he's lost this battle because Balaam is so enchanted by the Israelites. Okay. Yeah.
I just want to say,
Yes.
I find it really interesting at the incredible patience that God has with Balaam when he doesn't have the same kind of patience for his own people.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
Like, this is the third time he's saying, no, don't do that. Very calmly, like, hey, maybe you should think about it again. Are you sure you want to do it? Like, 3 times he's like negotiating in a way. The only other time we've seen negotiation was with Abraham and Sodom and Gomorrah. And,
It's true.
and here he is, just like,
It's true.
not even
And
Jew.
poor Moses gets Spanish just for hitting the
For
rock.
hitting her up.
Yeah. It's true. But maybe Balaam is a special character. Like maybe he's not like everyone else. Like maybe he does have an appreciation, but he's stuck.
It would have been special if he converted.
Well, so, but eventually he does something really great, right? So hypothetically, so okay. Right. Well, that's what Kenshin Munchak brought up earlier. That maybe it's not God that we're talking about, but it seems like God throughout the text because it's the same God in Hebrew. So, all right. Chapter 24. We're jumping to chapter 24. Chapter 24. 24:1. Chapter 24:1. I'll even allow a page number. What page is that? There you go. See that? You're welcome. There's a little gift for you for page numbers. Yes, 24. Here we go.
Now Balaam, seeing that it pleased the Eternal to bless Israel, did not, as on previous occasions, go in search of omens, but turned his face toward the wilderness. As Balaam looked up and saw the Israel encamped tribe by tribe, the Spirit of God came upon him. Taking up his theme, he said, "Word of one who hears God's speech, who beholds visions from the Almighty, prostrate but with eyes unveiled. How fair are your tents, O Jacob, your dwellings, O Israel, like palm groves that stretch out, like gardens beside a river, like aloes planted by the Eternal, like cedars beside the water. Their boughs drip with moisture, their roots have abundant water. Their ruler shall rise above Agag. Their sovereignty shall be exalted. God who freed them from Egypt is for them like the horns of the wild ox. They shall devour enemy nations, crush their bones, and smash their arrows. They crouch, they lie down like a lioness who dares rouse them. Blessed are those who bless you, accursed those who curse you."
Wow. So how about that blessing? So all of that money and all of the back and forth and all of the stuff and all of the curses that Balaam was supposed to do, and he says this instead. How about that? And in the middle of that, by the way, at the beginning it says, "Ma tovu alecha Yaakov mishkanontecha Israel." He says, how fair are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel. And by the way, what's the major significance of that? That line not only is beautiful, and it's matovu, and he says it, and that whole paragraph, like the palm groves and the thing and the freedom and it's beautiful. But what's significant about that one sentence? How fair are your tents, O Jacob. So, talk to me about what a tent looks like. Describe the description of a tent.
Impermanent.
It's impermanent. What else is the description of a regular tent? A regular tent. Think of a tent. Simple. Yeah, simple. You can put it up, you can put it down. Nice. Good. It gives shelter. It's nice. Yeah, it gives shelter. It's good. It's a structure, but it's an impermanent structure that you can put up and put down. Nice. And then it says, how fair are your tents, O Jacob. We know Jacob, yes? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. What's that? You heard of him. That's good. And then it says, your dwellings, O Israel. So those are the same things. They're almost synonyms.
Right.
So the dwellings, though, mishkenotecha, doesn't catch the word dwellings enough. It's structural places. So it's as if also Bilam also notices through this blessing that the Israelites go from a tent dwelling community that's impermanent and maybe subject to weather and isn't rooted, and starts out as Jacob, but turns into dwelling places that are stronger and more fortified, and into Israel. So it's almost the blessing of the transfer of the Israelites to watch them go from the almost falling apart nation that starts with the concept of Jacob, which is our origin, but now moving into the strength of Israel. Yes? Absolutely. He was overwhelmed by it. He saw this whole, he could not believe it. He was overwhelmed. Look how overwhelmed he was. And he'd been overwhelmed this whole time, but now. So it's such a beautiful ending. It's such a lovely way to end. Balak gets defeated. We say this beautiful blessing. It's so lovely. It's really, really fabulous. It's really beautiful, except for, yes?
No, I was going to ask.
Go ahead.
The word Mishkanotecha, is that from the same root as Mishkan?
Exactly. Yeah. It's like a tabernacle. It's like a much stronger entity, which is why our prayer books are called Mishkan Tefillah, from Mishkanotecha, that it's like a tabernacle of prayer, like a presence, a stronger presence of prayer. So everything is lovely and happy, and yay, we win, and Bilam gives us the blessing, and Matovu, and then we get to chapter 25. So let's end with chapter 25, because unfortunately, that's where the Torah portion ends. Chapter 25.
Then Balaam set out his journey back home, and Balak also went his way. While Israel was staying at Shittim, the menfolk profaned themselves by whoring with the Moabite women, who invited the menfolk to sacrifice for their god. The menfolk partook of them and worshipped that god. Thus Israel attached itself to Baal Peor, and the Eternal was incensed with Israel. God.
Mm-hmm.
The Eternal One said to Moses, "Take all the ringleaders and have them publicly impaled before the Eternal, so that the Eternal's wrath may turn away from Israel." So Moses said to Israel's officials, "Each of you slay those of his men who attach themselves to Baal Peor." Just then, one of the Israelite notables came and brought a Midianite woman over to his companions in sight of Moses and of the whole Israelite community, who were weeping at the entrance of the tent of meeting. When Pinchas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest, saw this, he left the assembly, and taking a spear in his hand, he followed the Israelite notable into the chamber and stabbed both of them, the Israelite notable and the woman, through the belly. Then the plague against the Israelites was checked. Those who died of the plague numbered 24,000.
Okay. That's how the Torah portion ends. So what happens? All the sorcery is over, and then what?
They start to party with Moabite.
Exactly. So it doesn't work. All the prayer and the stuff doesn't work. So what did they do? They send in the women. All the Moabite women. And what does that plan work? It works a little bit, because what happens? The people partook of them. They worshiped the god. They attached themselves to Baal Peor, to the Moabite women. So that part worked. All of the prayers and all the stuff and all the prettiness of the beginning of the Torah portion works really well. But he had one last attempt, Balak, to sort of weaken the Israelites. And he sends in the women. And it says, unfortunately, we're adults. It says, while Israel was staying at Shittim, the people profaned themselves by whoring with the women. It says. And so, and the ringleaders fall to it too, and they start to pray to these idols. And so, but here in verse 6, it says, just then one of the Israelites came and brought a Midianite woman over to in the sight of Moses, in the middle of Moses. Now, again, we're adults. What does that mean? He brought her over. He brought her over in the sight of the Israelites, who were all weeping. They were all weeping because this whole thing wasn't working. I think that he brought her over in a sexual act. And everyone was so upset, and he came to do it on purpose in front of Moses. And then what happens in 7? What does Pinchas do? He's so angry by this. What does he do?
Takes a spear.
He takes a spear and kills them. And it makes sense, the picture of what position they were in, because the spear goes through both of them, through the belly. So it goes through both of them and kills them. And when he does that, what happens? The plague ends and 24,000 people die. 24,000. And that's how the Torah portion ends. So, thoughts about Balak?
What does Rashi have to say about all?
There are a lot of weird commentaries. There are a lot of weird conversations. A lot of the time, Bilam is not the most terrible of people, because he actually tries his best, I guess, in his situation. He does have some kind of dialogue with God, apparently. But what does it show about the Israelites? What does it show about another week? It's been all these, how I started the conversation. All these weeks have been very challenging. How does this week end for the Israelites? Terribly. Terribly. Yeah, terribly. And they also are still not with it, because they fall again. They're susceptible to falling in again to the second that something happens, they'll go to idols again. They're not solid yet. So even that interesting line about moving from tents to tabernacles, they're still working on it clearly. So it's not.
And they're not worthy of going into.
No, they're not worthy yet. It's still a mess. Yes.
It's strange to me that this whole story is devoid of Moses. He's not involved in it whatsoever.
No, except for the end.
Yeah, except in the end.
Except for the end.
Why is that?
I think that's one of the mysteries of the Torah portion, is that it's odd that it's all about Balak and Bilam. It's a weird Torah portion. He's not mentioned at the beginning. He's not mentioned in the middle. He's only mentioned at the end. But it's only because they talk about the tent of meeting and where this story ends. But yeah, there's no necessarily the presence of Moses. Some people say, by the way, if you want to go in the commentary, that he's not showing up because he's mourning the loss of his brother and his sister, because they die in Chukat. So it's possible that he's not part of the beginning of this, because he's just not there. He's not there. He's also doesn't look like he's not even there in this too, because he doesn't get up to fix anything. It's Pinchas that does. So he doesn't even get up. He's like not even capable of doing it. So, yeah.
How long did this whole story take? Beginning to end?
Don't know. You mean is it years? Is it weeks? Is it? Don't know. Don't know. Yes. Don't forget, there's traveling back and forth, and Bilam and going back. He's not in his car. So and the donkey's pretty beat up. So yeah. Yeah, which I think is interesting to go back to the blessing that we get is that I talked about it last night, that we're alone. That when he looks over us, that when Bilam looks at the Israelites, he looks at that we're a people that are alone. And a few people mentioned it to me last night, alone, that they said, we're not alone, we're alone together. That we have this internal power, and that maybe we should remind ourselves that we shouldn't look away at other people. I mean, it says it literally, like I said, we're adults in here. It says whoring, and by the way, we say it every time we're doing the Shema. We just don't talk about it. But it says, why are these things? Why are they on here? Why are they on here? To remind us of what we're supposed to be doing. It literally says it. We don't read it and it's all like nice and like washed out for us in the English, but it says, wear this so you're paying attention so you don't go whoring. It actually says it it says it in the text. We just don't, the translation, we don't ever say it. It's not translated anywhere, but it says it in the Hebrew. So because it's supposed to keep us focused. So maybe this is what the point is. You were going to say something? Okay, go ahead.
Maybe
Yes.
this is like a side Torah portion.
Yes.
Just to show how God protects the Jewish people at all times. Because there's no indication in this Torah portion at all that any of the Israelites are aware of this pending doom. And yet, God intercedes, protects the Jewish people, even gets some kind of sorcerer to bless them.
Mm-hmm.
And despite the fact that it ends with this 2% of the population being killed, well, it's like a parent who has punished their child, but the parent still loves the child, and not always does, the Jewish people, are they always aware of what's going on at all times. And the fact that Moses wasn't even involved in any of this just goes to show you that there are things that, are happening on the side that you aren't even aware of what I took care of and helped to protect and whatever. And just another way of showing how God is still a loving God, even though he's got to punish at times.
It's nice. It's very nice. Even in the middle of all this mess, because we've had a mess for several weeks. You're saying it just still shows the power of God to take care of all these things for us. Nice. Very nice. You should be. You should decide to be clergy. It was really good. Yeah. Yeah. You should go to school or something for that. Yeah. You should go to school. Yeah. Yes.
No, I was thinking, we talk about this word alone, Levada.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking what you mentioned last night with the United Nations.
Yeah.
We're alone.
We're alone. We are. We're alone. But there's a uniqueness. I think that's the whole thing, is that we're alone, but it's not lonely alone. It's we're alone and separate, and because we're separate, there's a holiness to it, but there's also more work for it. There's more work for us to be able to do this. This is the idea. And the last thing I'll say is about Bilam is that a lot of commentaries say that his name, even Bilam, can be reversed to Bli-am, without a nation, that he's nationless. Then that's why he's sort of stuck and pushed and in between and doesn't know and is a sorcerer, but maybe has a connection to God somehow, and he's sort of out there.
He's a freelancer.
He's kind of a freelancer. Yeah. Who has that commentary? I don't know. It's in a note here that I have for a comment. So I'll invite us not to be that, not to be Bli-am, but to be really focused and to love the fact that even though we are alone, there's great power in that for us to connect with one another. So we're alone together, absolutely. Thanks for going on this odd ride with us this morning through the Torah portion of Balak.
When I was in school, we never learned this last part.
Yeah, most people don't get to 25 because particularly this is usually. And by the way, these Torah portions are so good. I mentioned it for a microsecond last night in the Shabbat message. Is that these Torah portions, by the way, are best known by kids at Jewish summer camp, because these are the Torah portions that always fall every summer, because it's the same set of, from June to August, these Torah portions are going to fall. So the kids all know this. And by the way, do we ever tell them about chapter 25? No, absolutely not. And so, but the dialogue, they always know about the talking donkey. They know. This is why you can ask almost any kid who goes to Jewish summer camp about anything, and they'll be like, is there a talking donkey? And be like, yeah, there's a talking donkey. I always hear about it at Jewish summer camp. Because it's literally in this window of the section of stuff that the kids always get to hear, because it's shoved into them while they're sitting at Jewish summer camp. So, yeah. All right. And the story is going to continue into some weirdness next week, because as you got introduced to Pinchas, we'll hear all about Pinchas next week. And we'll find out about these two people, by the way, who did something they shouldn't have done. And we'll find out their names and all the stuff. And we'll hear about the weirdness of Pinchas next week. Leave you in suspense for next week. All right, with the Torah, tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. We'll continue with the Torah still open for those in our community who are in need of healing, a physical, emotional, or spiritual healing. If you're thinking of someone you want to share their name, please share their name at this time. We'll start on Zoom, on their Zoom people.
Gary Cruz, Mark Horowitz, Darcy Breakup.
Terry Barber, Nancy Kramer, Jennifer Salad, James Roman.
Go ahead.
Rivka Golda Miriam, Rivka Aya Paplaya, Aya Paplaya, Leah Laura, Rubita, Sophia, Harriet Pearson, Santa Tancus, Marcus Shaw, Tancus, Profile.
253. משבח אבותינו ואמותינו אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, שרה, רבקה, רחל ולאה, וברך את החולים. הקדוש ברוך הוא ימלא רחמים עליהם, להחרימם ולפותם, להחזיקם ואשלח להם מהרה רפואה שלמה מן השמיים, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף. השתה בגלה בזמן קריב, ונאמר אמן. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Becca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. May the blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and the strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit, as together we say, Amen. We are going to return the Torah to the Ark, page 256, and together we stand.
Hallelu et Shem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado, hodo al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren le'amo, tehila lechol chasidav, livnei Yisrael am kerovu. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Eitz chaim hi lama chazikim ba v'tomcheha me'ushar deracheha darchei noam v'chol netivoteha Shalom, Hashivenu Adonai, Eilecha Menashuva,
Chadesh, Chadesh Yameinu, Chadesh Yameinu, some announcements. I don't remember the dates, but I know that. So next Friday night is Chardonnay Shabbat. I know that. So join us Friday night for services and then for light bites and some libations. So that's going to be next Friday. Rabbi Silvers is doing a 2-part series about the creatures in the Bible. So please sign up for that. I believe it's a 2-part series. I believe it's the 31st of July and the 7th of August. That's so yes. See, the dates, I was not sure about the dates. I know these things are coming up. I know that August 4th, which I think is a Friday night, we're actually going to be having a lieutenant from the IDF who's going to be here, and he is in charge of special in uniform. It's a special unit in the military, in the Israeli military, that has Israelis with special needs, actually. And he is going to be here talking about that from the Bima on the 4th. So I know that's coming up. And there are a bunch of things in the future. I think the 18th of August is or 16th of August, I think, is our back to shul Shabbat, and all kinds of other things coming up. Save the date for September 18th. September 18th is going to be, although we've had small incremental talks about Am Yisrael Chai, our Israel initiative and auxiliary. We've had some events like the one coming up on August 4th, but September 18th is going to be the big sort of official launch, and we're going to have a woman named Rachel Stern here, and she's going to talk about dispelling the media myths that are happening in Israel. So she'll be talking about all kinds of different things. So join us. It's going to be an evening. It's going to be from 7 to 9, also with wine and light bites, and then a conversation with her. You're not going to want to miss it. She's dynamic. She's incredible. It's from 7 to 9, again, on the 18th of September, and a bunch of other stuff that we'll have for you coming up. Do you have anything, Cantor?
No.
Shocking. Are you sure? Do you want to reflect on it for another minute?
I can sleep on it.
You want to sleep on it? Great. Aleinu, 282.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים
לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
ונאמר והיה אדוני
למלך על כל הארץ.
ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
אחד. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at the season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own Zichronam Livracha. May their memories be for a blessing in the period of Shiva, the immediate 7-day mourning period. We think of Sandra Davis. In the immediate 30-day mourning period, Shloshim, we think of Marcy Novick. And our yortzais that occur for us this week: Benyamini, Lillian Gelfand, Zelda Grashar, David Newmark, Martin Cantor, Herbert Cannon, Erwin Kravitz, Ethel Ehrlich, Barry Beloff, Lillian Mayer, Eugene J. Alton, Sally Rosenthal, Louis Zeiden, Joseph Einhorn, Alan Israel, Morris Faig, Calvin Delano, Florence Werner, Marvin Joseph, Elliot Kirchhuck, Beverly Rosenbluth, Abraham Silverstein, Martin Davis, William Yaspi, Albert Furing, Sarah Wallach. To those names, we had any name that you'd like to add at this time. Kaddish Yatom 294. Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, ve'almad yivrach chiyutei ve'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lemei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'a v'yitomam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitala shmei d'kudisha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran ba'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlomo rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, as together we say, amen. We're going to conclude our service this morning with, please be seated, with
Shomer Yisrael on page 329.
Nice. That's fun. 329.
Shomer, Shomer Yisrael, Shemor Sherit Yisrael. Shomer, Shomer Yisrael, Shemor Sherit Yisrael. Ve'al Yovad, Ve'al Yovad Yisrael, Ve'al Yovad, Ve'al Yovad Yisrael. Ha'omrim, 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 ha'omrim Shema Yisrael. Shomer, Shomer Goy Echad, Shemor Shehirit Am Echad. Shomer, Shomer Goy Echad, Shemor Shehirit Am Echad. Ve'al Yovad, Ve'al Yovad Goy Echad, Ve'al Yovad, Ve'al Yovad Goy Echad. Ham Yachadim Shimcha, Ham Yachadim Shimcha. Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Adonai oz la'amo yiten. Adonai varech et amo v'shalom. May God who gives strength unto our people continue to bless us with hope and strength and love and peace. Shabbat shalom to everyone. Shabbat shalom.